Hi, this is part 1 of my recap for the anime The Last Summoner. The story begins by explaining that the legend of summoners have always had a hidden place in history. They are able to summon soil, the dead, souls, and even the stars. However, there will come a day when they will all be lost to time and forgotten by all. We are then introduced to our protagonist, Aji, as he greets his cat friend named Mahou. Aji is a 16-year-old high school student with little care for grades and romantic relationships. With no dreams for his future, he assumes he will end up living a mundane life. Aji explains that his one good quality is that he has always been good at taking care of himself, and especially cooking. After completing the best bowl of ramen he has ever made, a strange orb of light appears and a woman comes out of it. In shock, Audrey drops the bowl, but the woman is instantly able to catch it. After devouring the food, she exclaims how she hasn't had anything that nice in centuries. She reveals her name to be Hephaestus Aphrodite Athena Hermes Inesi Dora, and he kicks her out. He wonders if he is hallucinating as his attempts at getting rid of her prove useless. She explains that she is not a ghost but a summoned spirit and requires more food to restore her strength. Further attempts of ridding himself of what he says is an evil spirit don't go well. He then decides it would be best to have a conversation instead. She explains that she is a summoned spirit from an ancient era and is 3 million years old, but won't be able to tell since she takes such good care of herself. Furthermore, she has two forms, the complete version that uses too much energy and her current power-saving mode. Summoners have used food and rituals to summon spirits since ancient times. Dora reveals that she was not the one that came to Aji, but he was the one that summoned her, and now must take responsibility. Aji leaves her class in the hopes that she will simply fly somewhere else by the time he gets home. However, that is not the case. She follows him and explains how she is an extremely powerful goddess that can make all of his wishes come true. She offers him all the riches in the world, power beyond imagination, or even rockstar status. She asks that he join her in her quest to row the world, but he only says that he will think about it. She appears again while he is in class and requests that he no longer run anymore so he can sign a contract with her. She shows how no one else can see her and Aji leaves class. Later, a girl attempts to give him a love letter, but Aji freaks out and screams at Dora to leave him alone. The girl runs away as she thought he was speaking to her and Dora can't believe Aji was so rude to the girl. He concludes that he was able to summon her with food so perhaps he can send her back using food as well. He begs that she leave him alone and is stunned to see that she has begun to cry. She explains that a summoned spirit that is abandoned by their master is fated to wander the world alone like a ghost for hundreds of years until they fade away. However, she accepts his decision and only requests that they spend a little time together so that she can cherish those memories for the remainder of her time. As they walk, she grants him the ability to see the world that she does. Dora explains that everyone is unique and special in some way. Everyone has the ability to summon, it's just that most have never truly understood the world. They can't see, hear, or feel it and only seek to grasp that tiny light in the darkness. However, there are a few that can truly master this power and they are called summoners. They can do things beyond imagination, be it destroy the world or save it. Either path that is chosen, it is possible to find who you are on the journey. Dora then asks that he explore this new world with her and he accepts. A grand display of light emerges as the two form their contract. Dora then rejoices as he fell for it and she finally got him. He accepts defeat and Dora reveals that she believes he has a real gift for being a summoner. The two then try out some of their powers as they begin to fly, but it doesn't last very long as flying consumes a lot of energy and she becomes hungry again. That night, the two bandage their wounds when his electricity goes out from lack of payment. She reminds him that he is a summoner now and the two use a spell that not just illuminates the room but also has a light healing effect. He would like to know a bit more about her origins and she thinks a bit about her past. But after having some traumatic memories, she becomes exhausted and falls asleep. The next day, Aji is worried about how Dora dresses, but she reminds him that no one can see her. They see how their exploits from the day before have made the news and decide they must keep a low profile from now on. They are attacked by a plant-like monster and it consumes Dora. He has seen her use her powers and asks why she can't just get out. She reveals that summoned spirits can only use their powers when they're with their summoners. The chase leads Aji to a festival where he is confronted by the brother of the girl that asked him out earlier. She was hurt by his rude behavior and her brother urges her to show everyone her determination. The pair then give Aji another chance to accept her love, but he leaves as he was too distracted by Dora's calls for help. Dora's cries become more faint as she reveals that spirits lose more and more strength the further away their summoners are, and that if they become any further, the telepathic link between them will be lost. Audrey then runs into someone that would like him to join the Supernatural Human Research Society, but just ignores him when he spots the plant monster. He has made a mistake but finally believes to have found where she is after hearing music he recognizes nearby. His assumption was correct that she begins to get louder, but she has begun to feel dizzy and is falling asleep. He has finally realized something now. The other day he tried everything to get rid of her, and now that the plant has her, he can just let it do it for him. Her newfound rage and his closeness give Dora the strength to escape. The plant runs back to its master, but its taunts infuriate Dora to no end. However, her attack does nothing as the girl disappears. Augie calms her down and explains that there is no need for more violence, but also realizes that they are not able to take the girl on. Dora wonders how Aji knew who the summoner was. He explains that first, normal people can't see spirits, so the one that ambushed her must have been a summoner. Then, since spirits can't stray too far from their summoner, he noticed that the plant was traveling in a near-perfect circle, making it obvious that the summoner was in the middle. Afterwards, he noticed on her earrings a crest of the huge aristocratic family that even his school is run by, and they can't afford to cross them. Most importantly, even though the plant was far from its master, it was still very powerful, and he shudders at the thought of how powerful the girl truly must be. We then get a look inside the principal's office, as the girl is scolded for her poor performance and the man explains that they shouldn't be holding back as he wants to see their target's full potential. After they leave, the man expresses his excitement to see more surprises from Aji. In class, the girl approaches Aji and leaves him a note that explains she will be waiting for him in the woods after school. After school, Aji is followed by a group that eagerly want to see how his meeting goes. Before that, Aji is confronted once again by the brother of the rejected girl as he is still upset for his sister but also that he is now stealing away his goddess. He ignores him as Dora can't help but notice how famous he has become. In the woods, he sees Mayawu and compliments her on her ability to sneak around like a ghost. The group of followers are tangled up and Aji is presented a path that leads to the girl. The plant demands he give them Dora, but Aji explains that she is his new pet, and even though she has a bad temper, they have spent time together and he has grown pretty attached to her. The girl is disinterested in his speech and begins her attack. Aji desperately dodges her attacks and begs for Dora's help as she looks for her weapons. He expresses more disappointment as the attacks become stronger and Dora has yet to do anything. The plant requests that they end it as it will only take 30% of their true strength and go for an attack on Dora. She runs for her life but gets arrogant, only leading to her capture. The plant is surprised to see that Aji is an idiot for getting himself killed along with Dora, but are even more shocked when the two emerge unharmed. Dora finally gets to reveal her blue, epic treasured antique cleavers and the plant requests they no longer hold back. The battle rages on as the two are evenly matched. However, Aji is able to use a combination of skills to carve up and defeat the opponent. Dora is amazed by his performance, but he reveals that he only went with the flow and chopped away like it was a kitchen knife. The girl recalls her beast and Dora uses the opportunity to go in for her final attack. However, Aji is able to react just in time to stop her, explaining that he doesn't want to be murderers for no reason and that she had been holding back the entire time. Dora wants proof and gets all she needs after turning around. She completely changes her tune, explaining that it is getting late and asking if they would like to enjoy one of Aji's delicious meals. The plant is insulted, explaining that his master is not the glutton that they are. However, her stomach begins to rumble and the next scene shows that they have decided to take them up on their offer. The plant gets a bit tipsy and explains how they're always good and bad summoners, and it's not uncommon for them to fight it out the moment they see each other. Also, spirits could also be either evil or guardians, explaining that they are the city's guardians and were testing Aji. They passed and are now able to join them, however, this seems to upset the girl and she leaves. Outside, Aji expresses how he believes good food alone can save the world, and she reveals her name to be Hana. Hana explains that she understands his character very well, but is still very skeptical of Dora, and will continue to watch them closely for the next 24 hours. Elsewhere, we watch as the girl cries out to her brother just as he disappears, and she wakes up only to jump off a building. Later, Aji's school falls into chaos as wild animals overrun it. Dora believes she must be dreaming or maybe having a nightmare as she hates fuzzy animals. We then see that the cat girl is responsible as she commands a group of monkeys to attack. Everyone in school is told to evacuate to the gym, but Dora has other ideas. They see on the news that it is not only the school, but the city that is in a level 1 state of emergency. The cat girl walks the streets admiring her work as she gets to witness the stupid humans tremble in fear before the power of her and her animals. Just then, Aji tackles her and scolds her for being so distracted at such a dangerous time. He spots his cat friend Meow, and rescues her from the dangerous area, only to find his help is unwanted. Dora then warns him to be careful as she is not a normal girl. From above, Hana spots the girl as her target and explains that they must keep a low profile while finishing the job quickly. Hana's immense powers are on display as she captures the animals, and the cat girl begs that they not be hurt. The plant wants to know why she let the animals out of their cages, and she explains that they had always been there, but the humans were the ones that invaded and took all the land. She is convinced that the humans should be in the cages, and so the battle intensifies. Dora desperately wants to join regardless of what side they choose, but Aji wants to wait. The cat girl is incredibly fast, but Hana is able to hold her own well. The girl's speed increases and shows how she can also use the abilities of other animals. Dora can't help but enjoy the fight as the two are so evenly matched. The plant wants to end it already, so Hana once again summons her tree monster. No progress is made, so they fortify the monster, which finally gives them the upper hand. Dora and Aji are now commentators and explain how the fight is not over yet, as the cat girl has more tricks up her sleeve. With the plant now inside the tree monster, Hana is able to fortify it even more, and the cat girl displays more of her abilities as well. Aji believes that the two will end up killing each other. Just then, he seems to notice something and asks Dora if she has any non-lethal weapons. They have run out of time, so he begins to act. At the last moment, Dora calls upon her soul shackles and manages to stop the fight. Aji reveals that there is no need to continue the pointless fight as he has discovered who the summoner is. He explains that the cat girl was merely a summoned spirit and his old cat friend Meow is the summoner. He doesn't know why she did it, but is sure she has her reasons. He tends to her wounds and Meow begins to remember how he did the same thing the day they first met. Dora explains that the conflict is not resolved as the summoner has been stopped, but the plant refuses and demands that they hand Meow over to them. Aji won't do it, explaining that he will keep the cat until it has healed and then they can decide what happens after. Dora then explains that it would be smart for them to back down as they are injured, and she would rather not kick those that are already down. Hana tells the plant to back down, but explains to Aji that he will soon find out that he has picked the wrong friend, and more importantly, the wrong enemy. The story continues as we see that the animal outbreak is under control. Meow speaks through the cat girl's spirit and explains how even animals like herself can be summoners. The most amazing is her brother. Mentioning him makes her sad, however, and she explains that her search for him is what led her to this city. It seems like he had been avoiding her, and so she decided to cause a big commotion in the hopes that he would notice her. Aji says to not worry as he is sure she will find him, and he will help her recover with food in the meantime. However, we see outside that they are being watched. The next morning, Aji wakes up as Dora games and answers his doorbell to find a group of suited men. They inform Aji that he is invited to Hana's residence for dinner, and don't take no for an answer. They arrive at her giant mansion and are greeted by Hana. Dora wonders if the master of the house is actually Bruce Wayne, as Greenball shows off their advanced security cameras and electric fence. They see servants as they do yard work and the gardener as he waters and fertilizes the plants. Their chef is also a spirit, which makes Meow wonder how many summoners are actually there. Greenball reveals that it is just one, and they will be able to meet him very soon. Greenball explains that they should be more respectful in front of the statue of the first leader of the Watchers, and Aji can hear the voice of a woman call his name. He then has a vision of her but snaps out of it when he reaches out and explains to everyone that he must have just spaced out. they finally arrive to meet Hana's grandfather. Grandfather, Harlan, master of the house and the head of the Black Rose family. Dora only sees them as a regular old man but gets a taste of his power when he requests that they take a seat. Harlan explains that all things have a spirit, and the legend goes that the source of all spirits is a single crystal. Wars have been waged over it for centuries, and summoners have been divided into two camps. One side lets nature run its course and protects the balance of the world. They are called the Watchers. The other side steals all summoning powers by any means necessary and seek to take over the world. They are called the Destroyers. Harlan explains that all summoners must make the choice eventually and asks if he will choose justice or evil, to watch or to destroy. Dora says she chooses the Avengers and Miao picks the Justice League. Aji explains that his parents told him to not join the mafia as all that violence has no future. Harlan explains that he knows his parents abandoned him when he was 5. He is a model student with 2 part-time jobs and dyes his hair to hide its natural blonde color. He predicts that Aji probably still has a picture of his parents in his wallet. Harlan knows Aji believes that everything that has happened recently has all been a coincidence. Not actually knowing who Dora is or the identity of his parents, Harlan wonders if he has ever thought everything might be connected somehow. Dora wants to see if Harlan is correct and ends up finding a picture of Aji's parents. Harlan continues by explaining how he knows that Miao is in search of her brother and that he is now a notorious criminal wanted all over the world, an assassin for the Destroyers. Hana believes Harlan has gone a bit too far as the trio are stunned and offers them to stay at the manor for a few days so he can answer any questions they have. Missing school won't be an issue either as he is the principal. As they enjoy their meal, Harlan remarks how Dora is so unique that he can't even tell what element she is. He goes on to say that he has heard rumors of how beautiful her true form is, and she promises to show him as after taking a closer look, he is quite handsome too. Just then, they come under attack by a large person Harlan says is a destroyer. He notes how it's been years since his last encounter with this enemy and will make sure that neither he or his allies will be leaving there that night. Harlan shows his excellent mastery of different elements in battle, but after the man displays his own destructive power, he determines the area is no longer safe. Hana explains that will only get in the way if they stay, and Harlan makes her promise to keep Aji safe. The group manage to get outside only to find the entire manor has been destroyed. The servants beg that they run for their lives, but a woman appears and eliminates them. The group try to fight her but she is too powerful. Mid-fight, Miao is distracted as she can see her brother in the distance. He makes quick work of the suited spirits and the chef as well. She is glad to have finally found him, but he does not share the feeling as he attacks her. Audrey springs into action but is forced into a vision where he is embraced by a woman who repeats his name, and he refers to her as his mother. The vision turns dark and we see that he is actually unconscious as Dora tries to wake him. Up above, Harlan's fight goes airborne and he begins to dominate the large man. He demands that he ask his leader to show himself, if he does not want to die. Hana can tell her grandfather is winning, but her fight is not going so well. A new foal appears and requests they descend into darkness together as she cuts her throat. Harlan notices and manages to stop the bleeding but can't finish healing her when he is interrupted. While trying to save Hana and holding off his opponent, Harlan is ambushed by the other destroyers and shot in the head. He has the thought of his beloved granddaughter as he releases a powerful burst of energy. The destroyers attempt to finish a job, but Harlan has become stronger than they could have imagined. As they bear witness to his immense power, their final member of their group appears, claiming that he has waited for this day for so long. He removes all of Harlan's power, bidding him farewell and stating that their objective is now complete. They acknowledge that the others are still alive but their leader says to leave them as they will be useful in the future. Aji and the others are completely at a loss when a news report shows the aftermath. The report reveals that an investigation shows that both Harlan and his family are currently missing. Dora is extremely frustrated as they don't even know who the enemies are and she wants revenge. Mayawu explains that it might be difficult to find them as she had been looking for her brother for years, only to find that he has become a villain. Aji explains that they need to stay calm since the difference in strength is huge and they should gather information. Dora mistakenly thinks he is just playing on his phone and he reveals he has found a lead. Someone had live-streamed the entire battle and after checking their account, Aji found that it was full of news and articles about summoners. The information is very accurate, which makes him believe the person must be a summoner, and finding her will be the key to finding the destroyers. They go to find the girl and leave Green Ball to watch over Hana as Aji promises to make her attackers pay the price. Elsewhere, we watch as the girl uses her technological skills to force a train to stop and an escalator to change directions. Her abilities seem to also play a role as we see her change some displays throughout the city. She finally arrives to her book signing for her new comic called The Mo Summoner, but no one seems to care. Our trio spot her and Augie wants to check if she's good or evil first, but Dora says she is only a little girl so they should just knock her out and drag her back. The girl laments how she hasn't sold a single copy and decides that she should add more explosions next time. Augie arrives complimenting the masterpiece that is her comic, and the girl gives a one-time offer of buy one get 10 free. Augie agrees to buy all the copies for his collection, and the girl deems the signing to be a success. She shocks him by revealing she knows his name and the names of all his hidden friends. Dora has had enough and demands that she give all her information including height, weight, zodiac, and horoscope. She answers all her useless questions and Augie wants to know about her ability. She reveals she is simply good at mobile games. Dora thinks she is a loser, but the girl reveals that she knows all the sensitive information about the world's most powerful leaders. She also knows that they weren't actually attacked by 5 destroyers last night, but 7. She is not to be underestimated and Augie now knows he found the perfect person to help. Dora takes the phone and thinks the girl is a pervert for having vision on so many cameras, but she shows her all the technically advanced things she can do with it. Just then, they are attacked as the phone reveals suspicious targets approaching them. Dora looks to her for the next step and she simply says it's time to run. She warns that they shouldn't follow her since the attackers are after her. Dora wonders who they could be and she explains she has many enemies like Russian arms dealers, American CIA, and even Mexican cartels. She explains that it is just the fate of a superhero. They are able to escape momentarily as they jump off a bridge. The girl controls the car as she reveals that the chase is not over. There are 4 pursuers that are black spirits, mechanical in nature and are also destroyers. She reveals that they are after her because she has been trying to hack into the destroyer headquarters servers, and that the spirits belong to the mean-looking destroyer lady. She underestimated the spirits as it seems that they are upgraded versions of what she is used to. Miao and Dora's attacks are easily evaded but the girl manages to take one out. However, the other mechanical spirits unleash a barrage of attacks that Augie is barely able to block. The girl prays that they don't have any explosives, but it doesn't work as the spirits launch missiles. She's happy to see that their attacks missed but realizes they had actually been aiming at the bridge. Dora begs for their lives as it seems that they have lost, just as the girl calls upon the help of a nearby vehicle. However, the spirits continue their assault and the girl reveals one last trick she has up her sleeve. She controls the transformer and is able to take out the rest of the mechanical spirits easily, even as one tries to escape. She celebrates a bit too fast as the mech leaks fuel, but she is confident it won't catch fire. As the fire consumes it, she is certain that it won't explode. Her robot explodes and she laments how all those animes have lied since mechas aren't scientifically possible. Just then, it is revealed that the girl had been wearing a disguise and Augie remembers him as the boy from the festival. Dora believes that he is a cross-dresser, and he says that he did it since summoners must keep their identity hidden. Augie then formally invites him to join their group and become their eyes. The boy wants to think about it first but does admit it could be interesting and he reveals his name to be Stan. Later, Stan chose the group his secret laboratory, home, and moving fortress. Augie explains that their current objective is to gather as much information on the destroyers as possible, and Stan shows them a map where he has been plotting areas with fluctuations in spiritual energy. Green dots mark dormant spirits and red are destroyer activity. What they see now is from a month ago, but as he moves the timeline forward, it is apparent that the red dots start to swallow up the green ones like crazy, signifying that the destroyers are stealing spirits. He shows how there were many green dots at Harlan's castle, and Augie compares the destroyer's attack to robbing a bank vault. Stan also reveals how there had never been much summoning activity, but after March 17th, spiritual powers started fluctuating all over. They try to think about what was so special about that day, and Aji reveals that was the day he summoned Dora. Stan does not believe in coincidences and asks who Dora really is. She struggles to answer, and the group don't push further as they will just investigate where recent fights have taken place. They can't believe the state of the manor, and Dora vows for revenge as Stan enters his device into recon mode. He is able to access the memory of one of the security spirits and uses that in combination with satellite imagery to reconstruct the crime scene. He determines that the large destroyer is code named Ruthless and uses a portal to ambush from above to bypass their defenses. Stan makes the assumption that there must have been a dimensional summoner behind the portal. The other Deshura is codenamed Flame, a fire element summoner that uses firearms and explosives. The next Asura is Miao's brother, who she says has become a different person because of something the destroyers must have done. His code name is Crow, and like Miao, he is an animal summoner. Aji explains that it was then when he was transported to a strange but familiar place that became a nightmare. Stan believes his mind had been hijacked, but can only manage to get the after image of this destroyer. The sixth assassin is the one that took Hannah down, and his code, named Shadow, a cold-blooded summoner of illusions. Stan reveals that the one who landed the final blow on Harlan was the destroyer's boss. Not only can he absorb spirits, but souls as well. He is a Grim Reaper through and through. Stan explains that their objective in the attack is hidden somewhere down in the large crater they left. The group go down to explore and credit the dimensional summoner for doing such massive damage. Stan puts up an image of what the underground chamber had looked like originally, and they are amazed at all the sealed spirits. Stan explains that as watchers, Hannah's family has collected and sealed summoned spirits for years, locking them away and protecting them. They are saddened to think how Harlan had worked so hard to save their lives, and Stan explains how he was the strongest, most capable summoner he has ever seen. They then discover a chunk of the ruthless destroyer's stone body and notice that it has a unique scent. Miao is able to recognize it as a unique flower that only grows in the stone forest. Stan is able to detect that there is only one summoner there, and Aji contemplates whether or not they should go. It could be a trap, and even if it isn't, their chance of beating a destroyer is less than 10%. They are all enthusiastic as Aji can't believe how foolish they are being, but realizes he can't hold back either, and they all agree to take on the destroyer. The story continues just after Aji has cooked a meal for his friends. He explains that he has been alone from a young age and needed to learn how to cook. When Aji was just 5 years old, his father disappeared, and months later his mother would too. Dora reminds him that he is not alone anymore, and Miao would like to know a bit more about Dora. Dora reveals that she is 3 million years old but does not have many memories. Any memories she does have are very hazy, and recalling them too much hurts her head. However, Stan explains that he has done a scan on Dora and her memories have not been lost, they have been sealed away. They wonder how to lift the seal, and we see that Dora loves how dramatic it is. The group arrives at the stone forest and Stan detects a hidden entrance nearby. They find a once thriving village that Stan says was wiped off the map 10 years ago. Anyone that has entered the village since has disappeared. Aji spots a sea of red flowers nearby, and he determines they are red spider lilies. They wonder if this is really the destroyer's hideout, and Stan states that he can only detect a single weak source of fluctuating spiritual power. They must hide as Miao senses someone, but the man seems quite normal. Dora is eager for revenge, but Aji reminds her to remain calm. Stan can't do a scan with no signal, but the man just seems like an ordinary farmer. Dora is tired of wasting time, but Aji holds her back and they continue watching the man enjoy a peaceful day. Stan's scan is only 35% done, but Miao senses a storm coming and they need to act fast. Dora is startled by a rodent and they wonder if they have been seen. Aji checks to find that not only have they been spotted, the man is waving to them. The man says that he hasn't had any visitors in some time, and Aji tells him that they are there to do some fieldwork for school. The man thinks Aji is alone, and it becomes clear that he is not a summoner, since he can't see Dora. Aji pretends to enjoy some tea and the man offers to get him some snacks as well. Aji declines and the man explains that he is glad that he finally has a visitor after over 10 years of being alone. The man explains that there isn't much to do there and his only choices are to sleep or tend to the flowers. He states that years ago, villagers could never grow anything there, and a young girl always dreamed of growing flowers over the field of rocks. She tried for years to make it happen, and when she died the man decided to take on her wish. He is unsure of why, but after she passed the flowers began to grow and he has been doing it for 10 years. Stan's scan is 99% complete, but it's too late, this storm has arrived. Aji thinks they should run for cover, but the man is no longer responding. He mumbles to himself about the flowers and loses control when they are being hit by gusts of wind. Stan is shocked by the results of the scan but doesn't have time to explain and cries out that they must rush to kill the man. However, they are far too late and the man's body begins to transform. The man begs for help for a moment but realizes that it's too late and reveals that his other self is here. Aji remembers this foe named Ruthless from the night of the battle. Aji is barely able to defend himself and Miao's attacks do nothing to the man's thick skin. Attacks from normal weapons are useless, but Dora says she has a plan. She needs some time to summon it though and asks her friends to protect them for a moment. Miao does well to use her speed and evade attacks, but Stan worries about what will happen if she is hit. Just then, Ruthless manages to grab her, throwing her into the ground and dealing serious damage. It's Stan's turn to hold back Ruthless and he states that he can buy them 3 minutes. However, if he dies, he wants all his anime and figures to be brought to his grave. Stan begins an analysis only to be attacked. However, Stan proves to be pretty fast as well and his scan reveals that Ruthless shows very severe trauma in his brain. Stan is actually using holographic projection to evade attacks, and explains that Ruthless is the prime suspect in at least a dozen large-scale terrorist attacks. Ruthless has had enough though and releases the power that forces Aji to protect Stan. Aji notices all the skeletons underneath the flowers and now knows what happened to the villagers. Ruthless isn't done with his attack though, but that's okay because Aji has finished the summoning. Dora asks Aji if he can feel the powerful surge of energy flowing through him and explains that she is sharing every bit of knowledge she has about all the weapons available to him. Aji no longer has to think about anything and can now simply attack. He attacks with his subconscious and uses intuition to destroy parts of Ruthless' skin. An attack on Ruthless' core weakens him, but it's not enough and Aji summons Thor's hammer to finish Ruthless off for good. The battle is finally over and the man returns to his old self, but the group still wants to destroy his core. The man's name is Mudo and he explains that he knows he deserves to die, but that will only make things much worse. Dora is done hearing his stories, but Mudo begins anyway. He had been cursed since birth, cursed by parasitic spirits that feed on the flesh and brains of their hosts until they take complete control. His mother died giving birth to him and his father then took his own life. He was tormented as a child for being a monster that couldn't control his own body. He would eventually be left to die in the mountains alone. A girl would eventually find them though and bring him some of her lunch every day. Her name was Ahura and she always dreamt of growing flowers out of the rocks. Muto would eventually ask for a seed and grow a flower for her. Ahura was very pleased and that was the first time he found something he wanted to protect. Years would go by very quickly but all good things must come to an end. The village began to suffer and everyone believed it was because of the cursed man. Ahura comes to his defense but the villagers reveal that they know she is the reason he is still alive. The two outcasts take a merciless beating and a fatal blow is dealt to Ahura. With the one he wanted to protect most dead in his arms, Muto transforms into a true monster. The parasite and the anger that had been building in him for years instantly took over. The entire village was destroyed, much blood had been spilled, and Ruthless cried out for Ahura. He takes responsibility for Ahura's death and desperately wants to die, but explains that he must keep the spirit from escaping. He reveals that what lies in his chest is not a core, but a seal. Just then, Stan detects unprecedented spiritual power levels and the man loses control once again. Elsewhere, the leader of the destroyers is able to sense that Muto is in trouble and decides they must gather the other members. They pity whoever is attempting to fight Muto and remember when they first met him. It was soon after Ahura's death. His parasite was temporarily sealed away, but was told that when he loses his sanity and control, he would have to help the destroyers when their work requires destruction. The seal is completely broken now and Stan reveals that Muto has already died. The monster is gigantic and the group each attack individually. They aren't doing anything to it though, and Miao is badly injured. Stan is knocked back as well, and Aji attempts to use Thor's hammer once again. The hammer is destroyed though, and Aji is forced to use the several other weapons in his arsenal. Not even a spear through the head is enough, and Aji asks that Dora focus all her energy. He is able to summon a large sword, but the monster destroys it with ease. Aji is gravely injured and Dora begs him to wake up as she cannot fight alone. Aji then finds himself in an unknown place with chains everywhere, and Dora does everything she can to protect him. The monster's attack is relentless, but she doesn't give up, and we see that Moro is somehow reminded of Ahura. Dora is attacked just as Aji touches the crystal in front of him, and she summons several swords that rain down on the monster. Dora has gone through a transformation and summons a mighty weapon that pierces the sky. The monster has nowhere to run and is crushed under the weight of the gigantic sword. Aji finally wakes up to see Dora's transformation and then her normal self by his side. Their friends are okay as well, and Stan points out how they won't be able to find the destroyers now that Muto is dead. Aji points out that they won't have to though, since the destroyers will surely be hunting them now. They say goodbye to Muto and leave. Sometime later, the destroyers arrive to find Muto's corpse and their leader performs a spell that allows him to read his last memories. He sees everything and they bid farewell to their fallen comrade. The group has won their first battle against the destroyers, but Aji's wounds are deep and he is losing a lot of blood. Mieo is in bad shape as well, just as one of Stan's devices detects strong spiritual energy fluctuations. The destroyer named Shadow appears before them and slices their van in two. The other destroyers appear as well and wonder what it's like to go from being the hunter to the hunted. The attack is merciless and Stan is shot at close range. The leader named Heart is disappointed to see how weak they actually are. He tells Aji to save his breath since after he is dead, Heart will simply read his last words directly from his brain. Dora must then watch as Aji's body is cut to pieces. He wakes up and it's explained to him that he is in the gap between time and space. A mysterious person apologizes and reveals that in the timeline Aji came from, he has just died. The same is true for all his friends and he has shown how the destroyers absorbed everyone's summoned spirits and memories. The man states that everyone must pay the price for failure, even if the price is high. Aji hates that he was too weak to save them. The man then asks if Aji thinks he would be able to make things different if he was given 3 minutes. Aji is shocked to see that the man is actually his father. He encourages Aji to do his best and tells him that he will be waiting for him at the demon's furnace when everything comes to an end. Aji is shocked as he has actually been granted those 3 minutes and demands that his friends listen to what he has to say. Moments later, Shadow arrives and slices the van in two. However, this time the van is empty and only holds a bomb. Stan confirms that one of them was caught in the blast, but Aji is certain that they still don't have much time. They rush to get Hannah but are surprised to see that she is not there, and has left a note. Stan explains that the destroyers are only 2 kilometers away, but reveals that he was able to borrow one of Hannah's helicopters. Aji is reminded of what his father said when Hannah's note also says that she will meet him at the demon furnace. Miao knows a bit about it from her search of her brother, and explains that it's for participating in some kind of trial to make oneself stronger. Stan confirms this and states that it used to be the only way apprentices could graduate to full-fledged summoners. A legend says that hidden in the deepest part of the demon furnace, one may find mysterious spiritual energy and treasures, and the past and the future of the entire world. He doesn't know where it is though, and Aji shows the coordinates left by Hannah. They are being hunted so they don't have much of a choice but to go, and Dora hopes they'll be able to increase their strength there. Hours later they approach their destination and Stan points out how countless airplanes and ships have met disaster there. It is called the Sea of Death and traveling through it proves to be quite difficult. They finally make it through and find that the demon furnace is now in sight. They are only 5 minutes away now, but Aji can sense that something isn't right. Shadow appears behind him and her attack destroys the helicopter. Stan uses his ability to transform the destroyed helicopter into a robot, and the group's attacks for Shadow away. The other destroyers are there as well though, and a full-on battle ensues. The robot has taken too much damage and they are forced to crash land on the island. However, the destroyers are already there and tensions begin to rise. Just then, the encounter is interrupted by a woman who says that they have already violated 10 of the island's rules. She is Bonnie the administrator, and she issues them a final warning. Flame wonders if Bonnie knows who she is messing with, but Bonnie explains that it doesn't matter, since this is the demon furnace. The story continues as Bonnie explains that the #1 rule is no killing outside the arena. It doesn't matter if they're the leader of a country or the richest man in the world, everyone must follow the demon furnace's rules. She reveals that the men on the destroyer's side have already graduated from there and should know the rules by now. Hart explains that Bonnie is to be respected and so they leave. Aji and his friends are grateful for the help. Bonnie avoids any more questions and rushes off. The group have lost her in their chase, but luckily find a traveling merchant named Richard that is willing to give them a ride. They explain everything they have been through and Dora points out that they are watchers on the side of justice. Richard points out that at the demon furnace there's no good or bad, only rules. He goes on to say that years ago the Watchers and Destroyers started a war that would engulf the world in flames. To keep tragedy to a minimum, the two sides negotiated a ceasefire. The small island was created and the two sides now settled disputes peacefully in accordance with the rules in the arena. Stan wonders what happens to rule breakers and Richard explains that no one would ever do such a thing. Whoever does would be making an enemy of the Watchers and Destroyers alike. They finally reach the town and Richard asks a bartender to bring out the goods. The group enjoy a drink and find that it has actually healed all their wounds. They want to drink even more and Richard thinks to himself how the idiots don't really know how addictive it is. They have racked up quite a large bill but Richard says that he will take care of it and they can pay him later. Furnace Town is a lively place but it is called Loser's Town. That is because everyone that lives there has lost at the demon furnace. They stop for a moment at an equipment shop and admire all the wonderful clothing. They all have their clothes patched up and Richard says they can pay him later for this too. Augie no longer wants to tour and they head to the registration hall. They make their way up the steps of the demon furnace and can hardly hold back their excitement. The group reach the top just in time to hear Bonnie welcome everyone. She states that people have come from every corner of the earth to take part and nothing divides them. They all fall under the name of summoners. They will either become a legend or die trying. Everyone is inspired by her speech and Bonnie tells them to enter one of the 4 doors to register. Our group is stopped and they are told that the registration fee of 2 million is due in advance. Stan pays for himself and explains that he hacked the accounts of the cartel to get the money. A man recommends they head to a different door and pays in cash. The second door accepts summoners based on beauty and Dora reveals her true form to get in instantly. She takes Augie along but Meow gets instantly rejected for not having the looks or the figure. The third door is a test of strength though, and Meow embarrasses the man before her when she passes easily. Richard meets with them inside and explains that he got in through the final door which tests someone's reputation. This is for the ultra-rich and famous, and explains that many famous people fake their deaths so they can join the trials. Dora wonders if Richard is famous and he thinks about how he is actually an infamous criminal, one of the 10 most wanted men in the world. Bonnie then shows everyone the demon furnace arena that has 100 floors. The competitions are like a stairway to heaven and it gets harder the further down you go, but the rewards also get better. Some men discuss how they haven't gotten past the 5th floor after several attempts, and Richard explains that the furthest he got was the 9th. Dora declares that she will blast through to the 100th floor and Augie can only wonder what floor he will find his father in. Bonnie shows them the beginning checkpoint and explains that there is one every 10 floors. They're to stay the night in the luxury hotel and the tournament's first elimination round will begin the next day. Meow sniffs out some food and the group take off to find it. The man from earlier explains that only newbies eat the food there, and they don't even know that the trials have already begun. The men discuss how that floor's boss is the world's top-ranked trap master. He is adept at various methods of hunting and takes pleasure in tormenting contestants. Augie and friends take a bath and Dora wonders why Augie still has clothes on. He explains that he is only 16 and isn't used to bathing with cat girls and cross-dressers. Bonnie appears on the TV and explains that this year's MVP is Hannah. Everyone is excited to see her and Augie wants them all to do their best. They head to sleep and the men discuss how only the veterans know to stay in the lobby. A weird sun wakes Augie and he is surprised to see that several traps have been activated. They have no way out of the room and Dora realizes that her ancient cleavers are the only answer. She doesn't make a scratch though, and her cleavers are destroyed. No other weapon seems to work, but Augie has an idea, and asks her to conjure up a skeleton key. They make it out of the room to hear that other rooms are going through the same thing. They head to find their friends and Augie prepares to kill a giant cockroach. It is actually Mayowa though, and she just did that to escape. Others begin to escape from their rooms as well, and we see that a baby is among them. Everyone seems to be accounted for, but Stan's room has blood coming out of it. Meow hopes that the little weirdo is okay and they are surprised to see that he falls from the ceiling. The boss of the first floor announces that the first knockout round has begun on schedule. The rules for that round are that there are no rules and in order to win you must only survive. Everyone must run as the floor becomes more and more dangerous. Our group would encounter several chaps and see that the floor has begun to collapse. Stan is almost lost to a sea of lava along with some others, and Dora and Augie rescue them at the last moment. The boss explains that no matter how many they help, someone will always fall elsewhere. His night of madness has only begun and we see that the participants are having a difficult time. Even the veterans must run for their lives and our group find a door with notes from past contestants on it. They all contradict each other though, and our group doesn't know which to believe. Augie forces his way in and the boss named Renault congratulates them for passing the first floor. He explains that 30 have passed, 49 were severely injured, and 13 died. Some contestants are very upset with how inhumane he is and decide to attack. They would come to regret this though, as Renault subdues them easily. He reminds them that it isn't against the rules to kill a boss, and welcomes them all to try. Renault reveals that every contestant gets a wooden treasure test as a reward for passing the first floor. Aji gets 3 crystal shards and 1 saffron ring, and Miao gets some furnace dollars. Stan hasn't opened his yet as he wants to beg to God first and finds that his is filled with explosives. Renault says that's the jackpot though and reveals that it's the ticket to the second floor. The ground collapses from the explosion and they are startled by Bonnie, who pretends to be a ghost. She was just helping them relax and assures them that all the other floors will be fair play, especially the second floor, since Bonnie is actually the boss there. The next trial is simply a race. Lighting the room reveals a large racetrack and Bonnie explains that there aren't any rules. Only 20 laps around the track are needed to pass, and the first 15 contestants to complete them wins. It will be broadcasted live for everyone to see, and Aji hopes his dad or Hannah will watch them. Miao is most confident about her speed and Dora explains that her wings make her much faster. Stan is usually heavily dependent on vehicles, but without them, Aji worries for him. The veterans discuss how they are prepared and have a secret weapon. Their secret weapon isn't very impressive though, and Bonnie announces that the race is about to begin. Everyone gets ready for a brief moment and the race begins. Elsewhere, one of the destroyers questions Hart if he is sure that he wants to wake a dangerous man up. Hart is certain and explains that it is the best gift he could give Aji. Miao uses her cheetah speed to take the lead, but she is closely followed by a flying squirrel ninja. Bonnie explains that in third place is the high school student embracing his girlfriend as they fly. Several other contestants are catching up, and that includes a father who brought his kid along. The manga artist behind Hunter x Hunter is apparently also in the race, and is disappointed to see that he has been spotted. Hiro takes off to avoid signing autographs, and draws speed lines to increase his velocity. Bonnie is knocked back and points out that it was the dark horse, Stan. He is on a rocket and instantly passes several other contestants. He explains that he stole it from a nearby military base. The fastest contestants are taking a huge lead that has them several laps ahead of the slowest. Aji notices something though. The last place participants are beginning to realize that they don't have to be fast, they just have to slow everyone else down. One of the veterans feels betrayed, but the other veteran explains that there are no friends in the demon furnace, only enemies. Dora isn't able to evade the man's bullets, so Aji says they should just return them to sender. Contestants are breaking out all their abilities to gain an advantage, and Mayawu attempts to stop the man using nerve gas. She isn't able to attack air but explains that she has made a friend that is able to control it. Another contestant uses his sword to intimidate contestants and Stan attempts to hit him with his missile. It doesn't work and Stan must be saved by Hiro. He explains that friendship and effort are always more important than victory and finishes his opponent with his ink stroke slash. Hiro agrees to an autograph for Stan, and it is announced that there are now less than 15 contestants left. All they have to do is make it to the finish line and they will win. Elsewhere, members of the destroyers duel each other and find that they are evenly matched. Flame uses her exceptional gun wielding, but Shadow is able to counter her every attack. Their fight is paused and Flame expresses her frustrations about not being able to just invade the demon furnace. The younger destroyer is named Space, and she explains that she visited the demon furnace when they were on the island. Her several attempts at getting in failed and she was even chased by security. They determined that it must have a special barrier surrounding it since Space's abilities didn't work. Space reveals that she ended up just wandering the town and found an old television that she bought. The girls aren't very interested, but Space shows them that she is able to see what is happening in the demon furnace. They are upset to see how far Aji and his friends have gotten, and we see that the next floor holds a cooking competition for them. Of course, this is where Aji really shines and the judges fall in love with his cooking. Miaowu isn't quite as skilled but manages to make a nice fruit bowl. The competitors move to the fourth floor where music decides who will move on. Chaos ensues, but Flame has had enough and states that they are having it way too easy. Heart arrives and Flame explains that it pisses her off to watch their enemies stuff their faces and have fun. Heart realizes that the girls have never been to the demon furnace before and agrees to let them go visit Aji. He instructs them to take someone with them though, and to tell Aji that he has sent them all a gift. Back at the demon furnace, Bonnie explains to the elders that this season's competition is still going. 92 contestants signed up and only 15 remain. She lists off all the remaining contestants and explains that half of the ones that have already failed signed up again and will start over from the first floor. The others are pleased to see that everything is going as planned, and Bonnie reveals that they have successfully collected 30 tons of spiritual energy. One of the elders explains that the teleport gate is ready and instructs her to activate the sacrificial program. Bonnie is sent to the 100th floor where she finds the source of all spirits, Goddess Pandora. All the spiritual energy gathered from the competition is then sacrificed to her in the hopes of waking the goddess from her slumber.